It's almost inevitable, right? To make mistakes. And nowhere is this more true than in our fitness. But those mistakes are what propel us to our ultimate fitness goal. And that's what we're talking about in today's episode. So strap in and get ready for episode 078. Let's go.
I've always been that skinny guy.
Why can't I gain muscle mass?
What do I do in the gym?
They said I'd always be skinny.
This is your complete source for how to gain lean muscle and break out of your skinny body. From nutrition to getting the most out of your workouts and everything in between. We know just how frustrating gaining muscle mass can be, but don't worry, we've got you covered. You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast. Hey, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody, and I will be your host today. And I'm excited about this episode because I'm going to share some huge mistakes that I made in the hopes that you won't make them, but also to let you know it's okay to make mistakes. Because we get this concept that everything has to be perfect with our lifts, with our nutrition intake, with our mental state, with our supplements. Like everything has to be on point or we're failing. And that's just simply not true. But before we dive in further to today's episode, if you have not already, head on over to bonestobulk.com and sign up for the free video workshop. It's right there on the homepage. You cannot miss it. And basically what it is, it's a 20-25 minute video tutorial that I literally sit there and talk to you and lay out like the steps that you need to take to start your fitness journey. It's all laid out, and also some big things that you don't want to do when starting off. So head on over to bonestobulk.com and check that out. Super easy, and you won't be disappointed. All right, with that being said, let's dive into today's episode. So yeah, mistakes. We all make them, right? When I started, I probably made every mistake in the book, and then probably some that weren't even in the book. I just assumed, you know what, I know enough, and I'm just going to throw some weights around, and that'll be sufficient. And I went out and I bought weights and threw them in my house and started lifting. And lo and behold, months went by and nothing changed. In fact, I had some very, very embarrassing moments, including having some weight get stuck on my chest that, let's just say, was light enough to where it should have gotten stuck on my chest. But that was my bad. Like I didn't know anything when I started off, and I just jumped in head first and I did everything wrong. And there's nothing wrong with jumping in head first. Like I fully believe in just going for it when you're ready to do something. I think that planning and laying out every detail, while sometimes is important, sometimes it can also be a detriment to us and keep us from ever starting in the first place. And so while yes, you should run and jump in, you also, while you're doing that, should also be kind of gauging where you're at and taking in new information that will benefit you. And if anything, this is like the best time in history to get information, because it's literally in our pocket, in our phone, it's on the computer. Like information is literally everywhere. You can just talk and get information through Google or Alexa. It's insane. All right, so mistakes that I made that I don't want you to make. Number one, that how you lift does not matter, because it does. And I didn't think it did. And that's why I did not gain any muscle. That's one reason. I just threw weights up. My form was horrible. I just thought, if I do 12 reps and 3 sets enough times, that something's going to happen, right? And it's an easy mindset and trap to fall into, but it just doesn't happen. Instead, proper form is everything. Slowing down on your repetitions is everything. Maintaining that time under tension. Squeezing at the peak of your contraction. Like all these things, when they're tied together, play such a huge difference. For example, let's take a bicep curl. You probably, like I used to do it, maybe you've done it, maybe you've seen somebody do it, but just kind of doing that whole rocking the body motion as you do a bicep curl, right? And that's what I did when I started. Because I was just like, I got to get this weight up. So whatever it takes for me to do that, I'm going to do, even if that means throwing my whole form off. But when we slow down and we isolate the bicep muscle, when we utilize full range of motion, in other words, going all the way down and all the way up, when we count 1001, 1002, 1003 as we lift, then hold and squeeze at the top of the curl, then 1001, 1002, 1003 as we lower back down.
That, in essence, is doing so much more for our muscle, that one repetition, than hammering out 10 with terrible form. And what you're going to find is when you start doing your repetitions this way, you're not going to be able to lift as heavy, and that's okay. Like, get out of your head that there has to be a certain amount of weight on the bar. There doesn't. Just focus on your form and your speed. It doesn't matter if there's 5, 10 pounds. It doesn't matter if there's 2.5 pounds, if there's 5 pounds, 10 pounds on the bar. It doesn't matter. What matters is that your form and your speed is where it needs to be. And you're also going to find that you're going to tax your muscles way more when you do this because, again, you're increasing that time under tension. And also, when you slow down, you start making that mind-muscle connection. You start thinking about the bicep muscle. You start thinking about how it's being worked. And as you think about it more, you begin to feel it more. It's amazing how that mind-muscle connection works. So that's big thing number one. Number two is nutrition. And I talk nutrition all the time because it's so freaking important. Nothing changed in my overall size until I changed the way I ate. I ate a ton of food. In theory, if you were just going off how many calories I consumed in a day, I was way beyond what I needed to put on muscle mass. But guess what? I wasn't putting on muscle mass. You know why? Because I was eating empty calories. Empty calories that my fast metabolism just burned off, that didn't go to muscles, that wasn't utilized how they needed to be utilized. Because eating Little Debbie snacks and drinking Dr. Peppers and eating pizza and ice cream and cookie dough and just all these insane things over and over, just it doesn't do anything. You may say, well, my total calorie intake is where it needs to be. Yeah, but what are your macros? What is in those calories that you're consuming? So get your nutrition on point. And that doesn't mean, again, you have to have it all together from day one because you're not going to. And if you try, you're going to fail. You've got to take things slow. It's a slow climb. You don't try to run up Everest. You take it one step at a time. I'm assuming. I've never climbed Everest. But with any mountain, I've climbed some mountains in my time. And not anything crazy, but hiking, Anyway, like it's one step at a time. You don't just run up and expect to get up there with a 40-pound pack on your back. It just doesn't happen. So you've got to slow down. And you've got to realize what step you're at. And if you're at step one, there's nothing wrong with that. Every single person who's been on this journey and who's had success or failure has been on step one. Because step one is the most important, because it leads to step two and then to three. But you've got to make sure those individual steps are counting. And so how do you build your nutritional foundation? Well, it starts with eliminating the unhealthy. And you probably know off the bat a few things that are just bad for you. Maybe it's soda, maybe it's cookies, ice cream, cake, pizza, whatever it may be. You can get rid of one of those and substitute it with something healthy. So maybe it's soda. Get rid of soda, focus only on that for a couple weeks, and replace it with water. Then after that couple weeks, after you have a little bit more confidence with that one thing, then pick something else. Maybe it's ice cream. And then wean off the ice cream and do pumpkin seeds or almonds or some milk with some protein powder in it as a substitute. Start making small changes and then gradually build and build and build. And we get so fixed on the long term, like we think, oh, if this takes me 8 months or a year, it's just so long. Guess what? This year is going to go by. Like, I can't even believe we're in November. I don't even know where October went. But when you focus, it's going to take time, but that's okay because a year is going to go by. And you can either be where you're at right now, a year from now, looking back thinking, man, I wish I'd started a year ago because that year flew by. Or you can start making steps today and only focus on today. Don't let your vision get too far in the future. Like, have your end goal, yes, but focus on your shorter term goal, which maybe for this month is to gain 2 or 3 pounds of muscle and give up 3 unhealthy items. Maybe that's a huge goal for a month. Like, maybe that's it. Set small goals that are ultimately going to lead to your larger goal. Don't get distracted by voices and products that will scream at you saying, you can get what you want in 30 days or 60 days. No, you can't. It's bullshit that they're trying to sell you. Don't listen to it. Keep doing what you know to do, that steady, slow pace that ultimately gets you to your destination. It will. So I hope this encourages you. If you've been on the fence about starting, you think that you have to have it all in order. You don't. Even if you just start doing push-ups and sit-ups before bed and start changing the way you eat, do it. Like, small things add up. Don't ever discount the small things. All right. I hope that you got a lot out of this. If so, please like or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future videos. And one last plug. I know I'm always giving plugs, right? If you're on Facebook, check out the Facebook group. We have some amazing people in there of all walks of the journey. I post a lot of workout videos in there, a lot of fun stuff. So head on over to Facebook, search Bones to Bulk, and join the group. All right, with that being said, remember, you know what I'm going to say. No matter what obstacles stand in your way, what lies you've told yourself about having to have it all together, you can accomplish your fitness goals. You've got this.